Everyone is selfish, I do not doubt that. The differences are only in the level of this selfishness. One is less selfish, the other greater, but everyone is. Egoism is a mechanism of our psyche that has evolved to help us survive. Again, this is an issue that you will not hear about in the mainstream in most cases. Sometimes behavior can be altruistic, that is, one in which one is guided in his conduct by the good of others. Yeah, that happens, however. I believe that they are based on a profit and loss account. Even if it is not done consciously, it is calculated. If you think I'm not selfish, I suggest you think about it again. A simple experiment will prove that you are. It's okay, but you need to know about it. If you're upset with my words now, I suggest that you donate all your money to any kind of charity, to some kind of foundation. The experiment's over, of course, you don't give all your money to others. That's not why you spent your time at work making gifts now. In some cases, the altruistic attitude is only apparent because you do not see the benefit that the giver will receive. For example, giving money on the street to a homeless person often makes the giver feel better. The second experiment is as follows. When you're in a store, take someone's product out of the cart and see how they react. If you think he's not selfish, then he'll definitely let you keep whatever you take. He hasn't paid yet because he only pays in cash, but in case you take a step back and raise the guard. Because very soon you will find that everyone is selfish. Any person will not want to go again to the shelf where they were once because it means a waste of time and energy. That's obvious. We know that there can be, and often there's a conflict of interest, even if it is not aware. We also know that everyone is guided by their own interests. Nevertheless, many of you will be surprised because you will experience in your life selfishness from other people that you have not even dreamed of. It is important that you understand that selfishness is inherent in human nature. Once you realize this, you will save yourself a lot of disappointment and distress. Take Heligo's so-called morality as an example. After all, it's nothing more than selfishness and rationalization. If Kali steals a cow, that's good, but if Kailmu steals the cow, it's bad. I'm sure every one of you has encountered this kind of behavior. Sadly, this attitude is becoming increasingly common among people. Don't worry, though, this has been happening for a very long time. Smart individuals use the principles of social coexistence to their advantage, breaking them in a way that is appropriate and convenient for them. Social principles that used to apply, such as the defense of the weaker, honorable behavior, and honesty, are now disappearing and fewer people are adhering to them. This is because if you behave honorably and someone doesn't, that person has an advantage over you. Because he knows you won't behave in certain ways, and that gives them an advantage. Extreme selfishness is beneficial in the short or very short term, but not in the long term. For most people, it's only here and now that matters. However, they forget or do not know that there will always be consequences. The consequence of too ordinary selfishness will be to break a relationship with such a person. Of course, here and now the selfish can have an advantage, but in the long term he will lose. Because sooner or later people will learn about his behavior and will not want to keep in touch with him, cooperate with him, and so he will have to change the environment, work, apartment. Well, will you want to engage in any kind of interaction with someone you know is pursuing only his temporary, immediate business, and in addition at your expense and does not hesitate to exploit you? Probably not. In today's episode, I want to tell you that in any situation, you will be in a situation where at least one person is involved. You have to bear in mind that this person may be selfish. That's why you need to know about it. If you're easy to believe and don't check, you'll be exploited. Likewise, if you don't have knowledge, you'll be exploited. Of course, those who want to take advantage of you won't like your interests. You check and you won't be fooled. They will then reverse the situation and care for your interests and not allow you to use you by the name of just selfishness, and will try to arousing you because of this feeling of guilt, as if it was you did something wrong, bad from their perspective. From your point of view, it does not matter that some people are not even aware of what they are doing. Only if you reverse the situation and do the same to them, then they'll realize very quickly that it's not good for them and that you've been selfish with them. So the point of view depends on the seat. The fact that someone behaves unconsciously in a selfish way does not mean that you have to bear the cost of the other person's behavior. You have the right to take care of your own business because others care about their own. Remember that. Of course, not everyone will want to use you right away, but some of them do. Especially those who recognize you as weak. Why? Because the weak will not give back, will not pay back to the beautiful for surpluses, and won't bear the consequences. You have to be aware of that because you're gonna lose. I've noticed that there's a far greater chance of you being abused by younger people than older people. This is not the rule, but it seems that raising older generations makes them more confident and therefore naive. Selfishness leads to people moving away from the selfish. I'm talking about this because a lot of people will want to use this mechanism against you. And when they fail, I blame you for failing to reach their goals at your expense. These are the rules of the game. Of course, if you want to be exploited, you have the right to choose. I didn't want to. There's nothing wrong with selfishness because it's a natural biological reflection of our psyche. As a species, we needed it to survive. Today it is no longer so much needed. But it is still present in us. The problem is that many people are not aware of their actions and motivations, so they follow the biological program. If you are aware of this, you will automatically be able to make better decisions for yourself. Because you will be better able to calculate the consequences that each action entails. This, however, requires knowledge. The biggest problem is that a true egoist will never tell you in advance that he is an egoist. Most often he will assure you that it is exactly the opposite, that he wants for you the best. He's doing this to sleep your vigilance. So remember, words don't cost anything. Always look at the deeds. Someone can say beautiful words and then act differently. Acts, not words. Pay attention to this. For example, if you want to make an appointment with a girlfriend for coffee, do you want to get to know her better? You want to see if you like it, if you feel really nice in her company, and you wrote to her or you called. But there's no time once, second, third. It means that the world simply doesn't want to meet you, and whatever he says is just a nice, acceptable explanation, rationalization, and excuse. Because if that girl wanted to meet you, she'd say she's busy today and tomorrow, but she'd be free after tomorrow. If there's always something more important, disease, the sea snail broke his leg, the cat gets diarrhea, and so on. It's by looking at the acts that you know what's true. Egoism was, is, and will be a long time a feature of the human psyche. Until people learn to control their ego, which is sometimes very difficult. Especially in a state of strong emotional arousal, until then we will be selfish as people. In order to control their ego, they must first be aware of its existence. To be aware, they need to know. The ideal situation would be for everyone to be honest with you and express their intentions. But I have no doubts and no illusions that this will not happen for a long time because, first of all, people most often offend themselves for the truth. Secondly, if they have bad intentions, they can't tell you about them because you'll be able to prepare, that is to say, somehow secure. And it's not in their interests. And thirdly, most of the time they don't want this truth at all because they would have to react somehow. So they prefer not to know or pretend that they don't know and take away the problem. I understand it is. I accept reality, although sometimes it hurts at first. But it all means that you need to know more. If you don't know, you'll still suffer more and the losses will be more severe. If you believe in history, listen to what was written 2,000 years ago in the Bible, in the Gospel of St. Matthew. Beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's skin, but inside are predatory wolves. You will know them by their fruits. Amen. Nothing has changed in at least 2,000 years. They say one thing, they do another, and they're really offended. Always trust actions, not words.